What happens when police want to ask questions of a child who they are investigating for an offense? This is probably the question I get asked most often by parents of children and by even other attorneys. In general, the rules for police when taking statements of someone is going to be mostly the same between adults and juveniles. For example, if the police want to take a voluntary statement from a juvenile, meaning they tell the child, you are not under arrest, you are not going to jail today. At the end of this conversation, you're going to go either back to class if they're in school, or you're going to go home with whoever brought you here today. That's a voluntary statement, and they don't have to give the child any warnings or any Miranda warnings before they do that. The child can answer any questions. And what's so interesting is the police don't even have to tell the child's parent that they are asking the child those questions. The child can ask for an attorney to be present, but they won't be told they have the right to have an attorney present. Most of the time, a kid wouldn't even think to ask for an attorney. Now, if the police want to ask questions of a child who is in custody or who has been arrested, that's when the rules get slightly different. If a child is in custody, the police officers should have already tried to notify the child's parents that they have the child in custody and told them where they are so that the parent can come up if they choose to. Now, when the child is answering questions, if the child chooses to do so, they don't have a right to have the parent in that conversation with them, but the parent's given a right to know. When police want to interview a child who is in custody, that child must still be given their Miranda warnings, but the police are not the ones who do that. What happens is they will be at the police department in a certain juvenile processing office designed just for juveniles who are being held for this reason. A magistrate judge will come up to the police department, go into that juvenile processing office, and read the same Miranda warnings that are read to adults. But at the end of that, the magistrate judge will ask a series of questions like, do you understand these warnings that I just read to you? Do you want to give a statement to the police officers? Do you have any questions of what's being asked of you today? Things like that. Once the judge is satisfied that the child understands the warnings and has made their decision voluntarily, the judge will sign off on a piece of paper that has all the warnings listed on them. The magistrate judge will leave the room, and if the child has chosen to answer questions, the police officer will then come in and ask those questions. That process will go generally the same as it would go if the police are asking questions of an adult. Now, the police cannot hold a child for as long as they could if it were an adult. The law says that the maximum amount of time that the police can hold a child in that juvenile processing office, this includes the time that the magistrate judge was in there, can be no longer than 6 hours. So this can't be one of those like 12-hour questioning periods where the person gets so beaten down they just start answering however the police want them to, right? They try to limit that ability for the child to feel coerced. Once the police officers are done questioning the child, the police officer will leave the juvenile processing office and the magistrate judge will come back in and confirm with the child, did you in fact answer all of those questions voluntarily? Was that done because you wanted to and not because anyone made you? And the child will answer yes or no. The child answers yes, the magistrate judge will sign off on that same piece of paper again, and all will be well, and the juvenile will be moving on to the next phase, either going home or going to the juvenile detention center. If all of those rules are done correctly, then that statement made by the juvenile may be used in court against them. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed today's content, please like and subscribe. If you have any questions or comments, you can leave those down below. Otherwise, follow us at versestexas.com.